All right. There we go. All right. I'll see you in there. Okay.
Alright.
prolonged spiritual activity, when you practice any spiritual work, there is a change in your energy. The energy may change in intensity, depth, or the strength of where it works in certain parts of your body. And this must be balanced. It is rather like exercising a muscle. A small amount of exercise will increase the strain on that muscle. So there is a message here for you all, and that is to make sure that you balance your life and work only within what you are capable of. As the medium sits in meditation now, and his mind has come to rest, the excess energy will dissipate from him, only to be replaced by the energy we are providing now. If you are building energy, it must be transmitted. The retention of it will cause bodily complaints and pains. It's important at times you have time away or a practice where you can move the excess on. Particularly those of you that are sensitive and will pick up energy rather easily. Move this away. In time, you will find the muscle will be able to take more and more activity. And of course, the muscle then grows to match the workload. So do not be afraid to have your time away. It is good for you. Or develop an exercise regime where this can take place. So let us progress. I do have 2 messages to begin with, before we go to the healing list. And the first one is for, I believe she will be listening to this rather than being present, and it is for Angelina. Can you talk to the medium, please, about organizing some time? We wish to do a talk or group of talks with your plans. And the talk should be how to have a spiritual relationship. I mean by relationship, either your friends, your family, your partner, your workmates. How this can be spiritual in all its challenges. It should be done over 4 sessions. Can you please talk to the medium about that? Now also, next week, as a trial experiment for 2 weeks, as you know, we have a healing list. But I would like a second list if it is at all possible. But the second list should be for those of you which are receiving or have a challenge spiritually in your progress. For you to provide your first name and just one sentence of what you would like to happen. I need not know what your block is. We will only be able to work with 3 per week, and then we'll see how the trial is after that. The idea is to aid those which are struggling with progress. It'll only be a brief answer, but an intensity of energy which may remove or help or even push the medium. Now, medium here, I mean the person seeking advice. Just a name and a brief sentence, no more. And please do not tell the medium this, so that there is no chance that he will know who is asking and what is the issue. It should be done by those in presence of these talks, but of course that is not always possible, as there are many more that listen that cannot attend. So, I believe we have a healing list. Could I have those names now, please?
Yes. You read my mind about balance. I totally agree with that. Let's see here. Taylor Dunn, Loretta Caputo, Jan Mercer, Jody, Roz Marshall, Teresa Neal, Matt, Laura, and Molly, Evie Rose and Olivia Johnston, Melada, Andrea, Penny, Martina, Claire, Howard, Michelle and Nigel Clark, and Pia. Thank you.
So let us continue our talk, how to have a good death. With the subtitle, I suppose, of how to have a good life. So the topic today is important for both sides. Those dying and those living, if you wish. Those just stepping into their final journey and those continuing along their way for a while. So when you approach your final time, maybe you have a week or a month remaining in the life you are living. There's a need to let go. And each of the talks so far have an element of letting go, of surrendering that you think is important to you, but you soon realize it is not. The attachments, what you hold on to. Let go of the worry of your affairs, shall we say. So during the process of grieving, and this is grieving as you face your final time, there has to come a time where you accept that you will pass from the physical world, and you will enter the new stage of your spiritual life, the life which in fact is the truth, and the physical world is the illusion. It is important that at these times that you can sit with those passing and take from them the management and discussion of their affairs. Now I mean this slightly different to the previous talk, as now the soon-to-be deceased needs to let go, and let go fully of not just the things that needs to be managed, but also the discussions that need to be had, and for these to be taken care of by a third party. So the previous talks were about offloading, if you wish, various issues that have been held. Now we are asking a third party to help manage and to take care of things that need to be taken care of. So, putting away, following up, arranging certain events and circumstances, by letting the soon-to-be deceased to talk. They need to know that everything is being taken care of. These issues may take, let us say, an hour or a day or a few days to report back and say, I have done that. I have taken that away, I have sorted it, I am clear. The deceased needs to hand over the last aspects of life to, let us call it, a greater authority, one that they can trust, one that they can sit with and know that they are in safe hands. Now imagine this from those which are moving away. By letting go of these burdens, then of course there is a freeing up. A freeing that means that the issues of the previous life are finished. And in connecting to this higher authority, and of course that may be a child or a parent or a brother or sister or husband or wife, they have to do that with love in their heart and trust. They surrender their issues, their baggage if you want, their needs. They need to come to terms with or accept, I know that you will do that. I know you will take care. I will know that you will do what is right. I trust you. Now, in all of these, there is a build-up of love that must follow, as they let go of the fear of incompleteness and accept the completeness that is left behind. But let us switch this. How to have a good life. You too, as you live your life, need a higher authority to surrender life to. Imagine your burdens you carry today of having to do or needing to find. If they could be surrendered to another, would that not allow more peace and love in your life? Would you not then feel that your life has a far deeper flow than you thought? Would you not understand that there is peace and love and spirit, rather than the agitation of the day? Of course, it is easy to say, and perhaps your mind is running already, to say that these higher or greater authorities would be spirit. And in part, of course, that is true. But how do you do that and still live your life? Does this not negate living a life? So let us go back a little. An analogy was given some time ago that your life is like sitting in a movie theatre. You think you are on the screen, but in fact you are sitting in the chair watching the screen. And as you watch, you get caught up in the emotion, the fear, the drama of the life. The screen being the illusion, and you in that seat, the reality. By being aware that you sit in the audience, that you are just watching, you are just adding agitation to the play in front of you. By realizing that you are, in fact, just observing the life. by standing back from your dramas and having a different viewpoint. By not being involved, by choosing a different emotion, by not being rushed, picking pieces, means that you have surrendered the drama of life and left it on the movie screen. You have come back to the reality, the inner peace, and you bring that peace into the movie. It is just your emotional ground that you have choice with life. What emotions do I add to this event? The events will happen. How you deal with them is up to you. With anger, with frustration, or with peace and love. You pick every minute of the day your emotional ground. You surrender to the higher authority by leaving the drama on the screen and returning to peace. You still watch. You still feel involved. You still live, but you live all of that life through all of the drama with peace in your heart. You see the life in front of you being lived, and at times there is agitation over decisions that have been made. Decisions in the past and decisions being made right now. Have we not always said, come back to the peace and let the decision come from there. Let spirit do the work. The process of death and living are in fact the same. One you have a choice, and the other one you face inevitability. So as you sit in your challenge of life now, and how you face those which confront you now, those which challenge and resist and even fight you, where is your peace? As the agitation is in front of you, what is required is more peace. What is required is the essence of love. And death and life become the same thing. As the play finishes on the screen, as the characters take their final curtain and bow side by side, does not the attendee walk from one theatre into another, and then undertakes a new journey? And that is what you will face. The pause between two theatres or two movies is your time of recuperation for the shedding of yesterday's life and being ready for tomorrow's. That time can be flexible. That time for some is inflexible, as they must walk out of one theatre straight into another. Do you want to pause or not? The agitations you feel now, and those of you saying, I am not coming back, I do not want this earth school another time. What does that say? Does it say that you have lived your life true and full, and you have experienced all parts and felt that all of this was happening to you? You have felt the damage, the pain, and the ridicule, the challenge, and at times the elation. And you have thought that was you. Many have written and said, take no glory, seek no honours. Because these do not build you. They do not make you any greater. The pain, the suffering, although does not affect you directly, is the path that makes you grow. You do not grow from your successes, but your challenges. And when you step away and you see that life that you have lived, and you look back, and know, I was not hurt, but I thought I was. Then you see the truth, that you are the audience and not the play. So the surrender to greater authority is the surrender to peace and not agitation. It is what the dying need, it's what the living need. If you look within you, you see that peace is there. You see within you that there is the comfort. As you let go, as you accept, as you work with the quietening of your mind, you start to see the truth and the feeling. The desires for control, the feelings of fear, the restrictions that you place on your life. All of this is not true. There is no illusion, but reality. Sit in your reality. Refuse to be moved. Just watch how you are, agitated by the wind blowing across the ocean. The ocean appears to be disturbed, but in truth nothing has changed. Now last week I did offer if there were questions that anybody would like to ask. If you would like to ask now, then I'd be willing to help, if I can. Does anyone have a question?
Yes, we have a question from Les. Want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Good morning. I'd just like to go back to your first session in this topic of having a good death. You mentioned the role of the medical staff in the hospitals where a person is terminally ill, and the role of the staff is to extend life or preserve life and extend it to the best possible time. Now, in some cases, you said that this will cause more suffering to the person who is in the process of passing over. So my question really is coming from a different direction, which relates to assisted death. And this is where, obviously, a scenario, your loved one is being discharged from hospital and being cared for by the family members. And there's no possibility of any recovery, and the passing will occur. And the relatives obviously are watching this person suffer, and they need to help them to pass quicker to get the process completed. I'm just wondering what the thought of the spirit world would be on that, or the guidance, because obviously on our side of life it's a criminal offence, and also on your side of life it's actually interfering with the life plan, because you're actually changing the life plan. So I'd just like to ask what your opinion would be on that.
You must understand two parts. And the first thing is nobody arrives in our world without notice. Everybody arrives, let us say, at midnight on the chosen day, or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, whatever it is. There is some ability to extend that decision briefly, but very limited. I am not talking here about whether the person will die or not. I am talking about how they die, how they pass. So not delaying the death, but ensuring that the process of their final days are as rich and rewarding as they can possibly be. So again, I say that it's important that they undertake the release and letting go of the preparation of the final days, achieving, where possible, as much as a bliss or enjoyable state that they can. So the relatives may indeed help or assist that process in two ways. Firstly, the transition may be at a more peaceful way with aid, but the truth is, it is the talk, the conversation, the releasing, the shedding of the skin, where I am directing my conversation. And as I said before, in doing this, in talking and listening and sharing and caring, then the loved one can pass with a clean heart and a calm mind. It is said often that there is two things man takes with them into spirit: the memories of a life lived and the quality of their mind as they pass. The practice of Buddhism is, or can be seen as, the practice of death. Of course, it also correlates to the practice of life. And if you read their books on passing, it is those last few moments where the crucial decisions are made in their belief. They say the quality of the mind will determine where you go through the Bardo realm. Do you grab the repetition of life, or do you become clear? And in being clear, maybe you fall into the truth of consciousness. If you have lived in the same regard, you would say your evolution or your vibration is greater than perhaps somebody who would be opposite. So the clarity of mind, peace of heart, the letting go of the life, aids those when they come to our world in where they progress, but the healing they require on entry, that their journey through the realms of their initial education. Any that undertake any spiritual work will have at times greater and greater understanding of the process of transition, and in doing so will walk through the veil far more unassisted than those who struggle and fight. Now also, these moments of transition are not just for those leaving, but for those staying. You see, mediumship says to a client that their grandmother is around them, but in essence it is saying that the client is also a spirit and will survive death. And I will prove it to you because this person has survived death. So the essence of mediumship is proving there is no death. So mediumship is not just there for the deceased grandmother, but is also there for the living. Resolving issues with your relatives is not just for the relative, but it's also for you. If you could talk to your mother in her last days, would there not be words which could be said, or should be said, or emotions felt? Alas, many people wait for the last few minutes before sharing love, and then think, I should have done that 60 years ago. Remember, it is a sacred moment. Sacred, in essence, means two people becoming one. Of course, it is referred to in a religious context of deity and worshipper. But here it is between those transitioning and those not. And what is in the middle then? What is the oneness? The oneness, if you wish, is pure love. When you have that conversation with your relative, is there not love in your heart? If you speak from your heart and allow all communication to be released from there, is there not love there? Is there not love when there is the removal of the body and removal of those things which hold back or cover over the love? Is love still not there? Of course it is there. Mankind resists this love, and yet it is available to all. It is that treasure box that you sleep on that you do not know, or refuse to open, or just let out a little bit. In Buddhism as well, they talk about bodhicitta as a great spiritual practice, and if you have ability to read and learn of the Dalai Lama, he would say this is the greatest all practices. If you did nothing other than this, your life will be worth living. Bodhi, if you like, comes from the word wisdom or clear. Citta is heart, clear heart. This is the act of compassion and love, of kindness. So I give you a challenge back. Sometime in your day-to-day, do something kind. And see if you have love in your heart then. You know the answer already, don't you? And you would say, I believe I would have love in my heart when I do something kind. Then why wouldn't you do 2 things kind, and then 3 and 4 and 5? To begin with, it sounds quite manipulated, organized, unnatural, but soon becomes natural. And when you do something kind for someone, again, to quote the Dalai Lama, say internally, let this act of kindness lead me quickly to enlightenment, so that I may free all sentient beings. You see, kindness, compassion, love, spirit, truth, God are all the same. Just one's a little deeper than the next. So when you are faced with this decision, should you help your relative pass, come back to peace, have peace and love in your heart, and know the decision is already made. Let your being, let your relative, forgive me, pass knowing peace in their heart and peace in your heart. It is not the process of death I talk about, but how, in terms of the matters leading to a good death. Have I been clear enough on my answer, Les?
Yes, thank you very much. That's great.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Excuse me. Yes, I do.
Can you accept that from your past?
Yeah. Yes.
Those that have not left you. There is a blessing of an elderly couple with you, my friend. And they work fully within you. They live through you and experience life once more through you. You are them, and they are you.
Thank you.
Brandon, do we have time for another question?
We have time for a quick one. We have about 10 minutes left. So let's go to Tamar for the last question.
Thank you. Thanks very much. I do have a more mechanistic question, not so much a philosophical question, because of these beautiful teachings that I've been listening to. My father is he is dying slowly. He's being let down very easy. He's getting just sleepier and sleepier. But he's still very much himself. And I have a question about is there a kind of meditation or something I can suggest to him to prepare his mind and body, a sense of embodied readiness to transition?
There are two parts. The first part is you must prepare yourself as well. Mm-hmm. And the second part is how do we prepare him for his time. Well, he has lived a life, and he still has some time left. But he goes through the challenges of mind and needing clarity and certainty at these times. And the clarity and certainty that is required is the knowledge that as I have lived, then that is the way my life has been. He needs acceptance. Acceptance for what was done is done. The moving across the veil, when it occurs, is a shedding of the movie that he thought he was in. So there is a requirement for acceptance of what was yesterday and now the allowance of what is to come. So there is a need for peace. My dear, you can assist him greatly as you can assist you in just spending the time and sitting in peace. So this, of course, would say it is meditation. For others it is sitting in a garden or a beautiful scene or wherever their favourite place was. It is a releasing and a letting go of the shackles of yesterday so that he can be free within body, free with his heart and mind, and the two of you can enjoy this time of peace together. I would suggest to you that the act of kindness now would help you immensely. the act of kindness of giving your time, of giving your heart, of giving your energy in a state of pureness. The clarity that is required he already has, but he feels that there is agitation there. So I ask you that it is best that the two of you sit in your own clarity side by side if you can, to feel each other's truth. Now remember the phrase, nobody enters heaven alone. What is meant is a number of different things. Firstly, the act of kindness I inferred with Les, does this not take you to heaven when you do something kind? So you aid his transition or his final times by knowing and saying what you have done, you have given purpose to. You have given and you've discovered and you've helped others, even if you have helped them in a negative way. You have shown people the light in their way. If he can find purpose, you will know your own purpose, as you can assist others in this process. Sit within the joy of being and ask for the energy of peace to be wrapped around you both. And ask him to come into that peace with you, that you may sit together, side by side, within your minds, on the bench overlooking the garden, or wherever you find is your happy place. It is what you give because you take away, and you reveal what is true underneath it. If you think of these talks, they have all been take away the agitation, take away the grief, take away the issue of life that was, to reveal the honesty underneath. It is the removal of body to reveal spirit, if you prefer, or the removal of the attachments of life to realize the truth of life. You can do no more or no better than to sit in peace together. So you ask for a specific meditation. And if I was you, I would ask him for his happy place and say, let us sit together there, within his mind, or if it can be done physically, there too. And as he relaxes into that place, that's where his heaven will be. And you will have taken him to the door of heaven. And then say, you must now step in. I can go no further. But know that you will also have entered heaven within you, as your heart goes with him, and his heart stays behind for you. Do you understand, my dear? Am I being of assistance?
Oh, yes, yes. You bring together living and dying in such a complete way. Beautiful, thank you.
My dear, the realization, the truth underneath all of this is not just there is no death. The truth underneath this is heaven is on earth. I'm sure you've heard that many times. That man can live in heaven right now. If you just said it was just the act of kindness, bodhicitta, would you not be in heaven then? But you can live in heaven now. You require the service of another, someone to be kind to. And up pop someone who will ask something of you. You see, when you look at it that way, the person that is requiring of you some kindness is saying to you, this way to heaven. So they are of service to you, yet you think kindness is of service to them. The most challenged person can step in front of you and they are there for your step into heaven. When you give money to a monastery or a church, there's a feeling of warmth to a minor or major degree. So you should thank the monastery for the opportunity to give. That sounds illogical, doesn't it? Because the ego thinks I give them $10 and they benefit. But the truth is, the monastery, the temple, the church, the beggar, has given you a step into heaven. Be grateful for them. It is a win-win. So aiding and assisting those which pass is how to have a good life and how to have a good death. I trust that has helped.
Yes, thank you.
So next week we will continue our talk and we will open to questions once more. But we will also have the opportunity to aid those who want to remove that block on their path. Maybe just 3 people. God bless you all. May peace be within your hearts.
All right. As Mark comes back to the land of the living, I just want to remind everyone that we move our clocks forward next Sunday, at least for us here in the States. So instead of 6:30 p.m., it'll be 7:30 p.m. in the East Coast and other parts of the United States. But I don't think all the parts move the clocks forward like every